Welcome back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson, and today I'm delighted that I have managed to get some time with Todd Williams. He is the Managing Director of E2 Metals, ASX code E2M. And E2 Metals have got projects up in Argentina, in the Santa Cruz province, gold and silver, two of my favourite commodities. Todd, welcome to the program. Great to see you. Loving the Zoom calls.
Thanks, Kerry. No, look, it's great to be here. Look, you're right, and I guess I'd preface it by saying we're down in Argentina, down in the southern tip of Patagonia in the windy province of Santa Cruz. And you're right, gold and silver is a great combination to be exploring for at this point in time.
So, Todd, let's just do a little bit of background about how E2 Metals came about. And you've spent a bit of time in Argentina, I believe. You understand that area well. And I know you've been up there, but why this particular area?
Sure. Well, look, I guess my background is I founded a private equity explorer in 2016, and that was at a time when gold was, trading at sort of $1,000 an ounce.
I wish it was 10,000, Todd. Let's just put that out.
It was trading about $1,000 an ounce, and the mining boom was well and truly gone, and gold was unloved, and pretty much every commodity was unloved, and so what I saw at that point in time was a real opportunity to start aggregating what I thought was quality district scale land packages. We started in Colombia, and within 18 months, we put together a unique portfolio of ground there in Colombia and farmed that out to a $500 million TSX listed company. And then once we sort of had our fun in Colombia, we thought, well, the natural extension of Colombia is Argentina, and we entered Argentina.
Sorry, Todd. Sorry? Todd, can I interrupt? You just said that the natural extension of Colombia is Argentina.
Well, natural extension in terms of geology, in terms of there was a lot of transferable skill sets, and we see Argentina as very much a similar place to Colombia. And why Argentina is because there is a lot of opportunity. There's a great, there's a lot of arbitrage opportunities between the perception of reality and fact. Colombia and Argentina are both places that most investors probably raise an eyebrow to. But the reality is, you go there, there's really high quality people, there's high quality exploration projects, there's great ground that you can pick up pretty much as vacant ground. And so that's what really drew us to Argentina. And after being there for, say, 3 years, from 2016 to 18, we put together what we thought was a very dominating land position in Santa Cruz. And so we knew that land position had to get onto the ASX, and we did that through a reverse takeover of E2 Metals.
And when was that, Todd? When did you do the RTO?
So that was December 2018.
Okay, so we're really talking a newish company. Let's what I want to find out is, you are in the Santa Cruz area. Have you got a map that you can show us of where you are? Because sure. I think you're a long trend from. There are some big companies operating in the area, and here we go. So there you are. Are those are your priority projects? So. You've got McEwen, Newmont, Patagonia Gold, Austral, Anglo Gold, Pan American Silver, and Yamana. Big names there, Todd. How did you get to peg these areas, and why did you do so?
Oh, look, I might answer that via the long route. With Santa Cruz, I guess we call Santa Cruz the eastern goldfields of South America, and there's a lot of Australian geologists that would probably raise their eyebrow to that. But when you look at Santa Cruz culturally, it's exactly the same. If you pull up at a roadhouse in Santa Cruz, it's nothing but cars with high vis and fire extinguishers. Everyone in Santa Cruz is aligned to mining. Everyone either works in mining or supports mining. So it's got a great mining culture. Then secondly, the commercial framework. So in Santa Cruz, there's a history of companies making discoveries and selling those discoveries for the benefit of their shareholders. So if we look at, say, for example, Cerro Negro, that was sold in 2010 for $3.4 billion to Goldcorp. So that's pretty much what you would call a 10 out of 10 outcome for all shareholders. And then when you move down the value chain, you've got Cerro Moro, which was sold for $414 million to Yamana in 2012. But then, you know, you can go all the way down to, say, Conserrat, which is a very small discovery by Patagonia Gold, 40,000 ounces of high-grade gold, and that was sold for a value that could support E2 Metals market capitalisation today. And that ore is currently being trucked 100 kilometres to Manantial Espejo to the south. So if you look at that, you say, all right, there's a culture of mining, there's a really strong ecosystem of mining companies. If you find something, it will be bought. So that was the strategy. And then the science was, well, you know, we don't want to be taking unnecessary technical risk. We want to go into proven districts where we know there's gold and silver endowment. And so naturally for us, we were looking in extensions of the Cerro Negro district where we've got the Corona property. We were looking in the extensions of the Capo Oeste or El Tranquilo gold district where we have Sierra Morena. And then we were also looking at extensions of the Cerro Vanguardia vein district, which is the largest vein district in the province. And that's where we have our Conserrat project. But that was the science and the strategy. It was really about doing good work at a time when no one else wanted to explore for gold. And then there was a bit of serendipity sprinkled in there as well, because obviously to pick up good ground, you do need a bit of luck. So that's really the E2 origin story.
It's a great story, and you say luck, but I think you'd also spent quite a bit of time there, and I think being on the ground and understanding the culture, the people, and creating relationships is fairly important in securing some of this ground.
Yeah, and what I would say about operating in Argentina, which I guess completely blew me away as an Australian in the Australian mining system, is I was really blown away by the amount of human capital in Argentina. There's some really smart, enterprising geologists in Argentina. They have a discovery culture and they know what success looks like. And this portfolio, really, I can't take any credit for it. Essentially, my job as the principal of the company that put this together was to get good people and give them the space, the creative space to do good work. And a lot of this is the product of our team in Argentina.
It's actually nice to hear a managing director just do a shout out to the team, because it is teamwork. Todd, I'd like to just go on. It is a portfolio. It is a large land holding. These 4 that we can see on screen now, starting with Corona, the 4 priority projects. Talk us through how you're managing them and how you're going to extract, as you said before, where's the value extraction and what are your next steps? And given that we are at the moment in COVID, is that affecting E2 at the moment, or do you have people on the ground getting on with the job?
Sure. Well, I guess from first principles, when we started exploring in March 2019, subsequent to the E2 reverse takeover, we essentially saw all of our properties as a blank canvas, and they really were. At that point, Conserrat had never been explored, not a single drill hole, a couple of rock chip samples from Iron Gold in the early 2000s. Corona, once again, a blank canvas, no drilling, no trenching. And Sierra Morena at that point was our more advanced project with 1 phase of drilling by a previous explorer. And so essentially the first 3 months was about really honing into the properties that we thought had the, I guess, best potential for a true multi-million ounce discovery. And it became really quick. It was quite apparent really quick in the journey that that property was Conserrat. So that's probably the area that I'd like to focus on today, and I guess where I'd like to point the investors' attention to. So if we look at Conserrat, where it's located in relation to Serra Vanguardia, and we think about Serra Vanguardia, so Serra Vanguardia hosts 9 million ounces of gold and over 140 million ounces of silver. So that's a truly world-class epithermal vein system on a global scale, and also on a South American scale and a global scale. And it's the largest mine in the province by gold endowment. So just looking purely at the amount of gold and silver in the Earth's crust. And so then it seemed obvious to us that there was something very special happening in the Earth's crust at this point, and that if we could just find something close to it that had the right structural architecture and all the ingredients, then we're off to a good start. And that was really Conserrat. So we picked up the ground. It was vacant ground. It's essentially 15 to 25 kilometres along trend from Serra Vanguardia. One of the geos and we've actually been out in Conserrat mapping, picking up rocks, and it is, you do get quite a fright when Serra Vanguardia are blasting over the hill, because it does make you jump for cover. And it's phenomenal to think that we've essentially made what is a really exciting gold and silver discovery in the shadow of the headframe of the Serra Vanguardia mine. And I guess being a consumer of podcast content, and assuming that all of your investors who are listening to this are also motivated to consume more podcast content, I'd point them to a great interview with the head of geoscience of Anglo American, John Van, and on Exploration Insights Exploration Radio. And he described this phenomena called the donut of neglect. And he essentially said that when there's world-class assets, truly world-class assets, you get this weird, boring bit around that asset where the mine geologists don't want to go because it's too far from the mine, and the exploration geologists don't want to go because it doesn't fit with their wind in the hair narrative of being in the top of the Andes. And he said that is the precise place where you want to explore, because you can explore greenfields areas with brownfields thinking. Brownfields areas with greenfields thinking. And that's where you can make truly transformative discoveries with very low risk. And when I was listening to that, I thought, that is the most eloquent and beautiful way of describing exactly what E2 Metals has done in Santa Cruz.
That's a really big, because funnily enough, that was a question I was going to ask you, is you're not that far away from Serra Vanguardia. Why wouldn't they have gone and looked at it? But you've actually articulated that quite well, in that they're focused where they're focused, and they can't just keep looking outside the square, I guess. But is it the same geological structure as the Anglo Gold project?
Oh, absolutely. So the host structural corridor, or the northwest structural corridor, which I guess hosts all the veins at Serra Vanguardia, essentially continues straight on into our project. And I guess one thing I will say is that, geology is not that simple, and it's never that obvious. And and these are very nuanced systems. And when I say nuanced, I mean, there can be world-class multi-million ounce ore shoots that are completely geochemically barren at surface. And so they do take a bit of geological forensics to find. And I guess the best case study to speak to that is the discovery history of Cerro Negro. So that was essentially explored by 5 different companies over a period of 8 years before Andean ultimately acquired the property. And they just saw something that no one else saw. They drilled a little deeper than everyone else drilled. They, I guess, honed in on very small, innocuous clues as to where there could be high-grade shoots. And it was just that type of forensic thinking that took that asset from being essentially an exploration play to a world-class discovery to being bought for $3.4 billion. And so it is possible for these world-class giants to be hiding under your nose, because they're just not that obvious at surface. And in the context of Conserrat, that was prospected by IAMGOLD in the early 2000s. And there were 100 rock chip samples on our property when we acquired it as open ground. But a lot of those results were quite mediocre, 1 to 2 grams gold at best, lots of 100 ppb type results. But, by all accounts, if you were the head of geology and you looked at those results versus results elsewhere in your portfolio, you'd probably form quite a neutral or negative view on the asset. And I guess when we went in there, we had just a far more first principle approach. We said, well, it's a world-class district. There has to be gold and silver here. The structures are here. We can see alteration and veining over 5 kilometres, 5 by 5 kilometres, so 25 square kilometres. So there has to be something going on here, and maybe the geochemistry is not telling us the true story. And just to really hone that point further, our latest Mir discovery, which is right on the boundary near Serra Vanguardia, we drilled a hole which returned 8 metres at essentially 8 grams gold and over 200 grams silver, a great first scout drill hole result. And that is 100 metres from an IAMGOLD rock chip sample that ran 0.5 gram gold. And they would have picked up that sample and said, oh, well, there's nothing here, let's keep moving. And we've just seen something that no one else has seen. We've worked a little harder, drilled a little deeper, and I think we're finally starting to reveal the scale and potential of the project.
So what are the next steps on this? So your focus, E2 Metals' focus right now is on Conserrat. You do have other projects. What are you doing anything with those? I know we want to focus on Conserrat today, but just to put a big picture on it, you've got your foot on these other ones: Corona, Sierra Moreno, and Angostura. Love that one, Angostura bitters.
Yep.
Are you doing much with those, or is your focus at the moment is from a geological point of view and from I guess a company point of view, that Conserrat is possibly going to deliver a lot more?
Oh, look, I would say we operate on a strict 80-20 rule, where 20% of our time and effort is allocated on generating the next Conserrat in the portfolio, if I can put it that way.
Yep.
And we do have our head of corporate development, Colin Brodie, who's ex-IAMGOLD, funnily enough. He was the exploration manager of IAMGOLD. And he's focusing a lot of his time and energy into finding that next crop and pipeline of sort of discovery opportunities for E2 Metals. But, what I would say is we are 100% engaged in Conserrat at the moment and seeing that through, and I guess realising the value that we believe is there. And I guess one point that hasn't been underscored enough at the moment is probably the technical journey of the Conserrat project since March 2019. So we went out there with the wind in the hair, as good geologists do, and we waved our arms and said, well, hang on, why could this not be a new vein field? There's all this alteration and veining here, and we're right next to Serra Vanguardia. And so in March, we did some geophysics to look at these veins, how they linked up undercover. And that geophysics basically revealed a really wide zone, about 25 square kilometres of just elevated chargeability, all orientated on northwesterly trends. And we got a very good local geophysicist, Miles Rideout, a great guy. If anyone's in Mendoza, you should call in and catch up with Miles and have a beer. He's always very forthcoming with his knowledge and wisdom. And anyway, so he apologised. He said, look, Todd, I'm sorry. I've generated 100 line kilometres of targets, and I know you don't believe me, but I truly believe that this is the next Cerro Negro or San Jose, just based on the geophysics alone. You've got lineaments and trends and targets everywhere. And so we thought, well, that's great, but let's go out and prove it. And so from August onwards, when the summer season began in 2019, We focused firstly on the geophysical targets with strong agreement with the geology, i.e. we could see veins, we knew there was alteration, and we had strong anomalies in the soils. And we said to ourselves, all right, well, we know what success looks like in these types of systems. That's, success, a high-grade ore shoot is about a 100 gram metre intercept, or 10 grams over 10 metres. So we had a very clear idea what success was. And so we hopped from prospect to prospect, which was spaced over 5 kilometres. And encouragingly, at every prospect we drilled, we got a 25 gram metre, 50 gram metre, 70 gram metre, then a 100 gram metre hit at every prospect that we drilled on a reconnaissance scale. So for example, at Roe, which is in the centre of the project, the first hole there on a structure that's mapped over 3 kilometres, this is the first hole, intercepted 5 metres at 441 grams silver. That's on the first hole in a structure over 3 kilometres. Then we step south 1 kilometre to Florencia. Once again, big soil anomaly. We thought, all right, what's going on here? First hole, 46 metres at 0.7 gold and 35 grams silver. On a gold equivalent basis, that's 46 metres at 1.2 grams gold from surface, poking out of the ground. We thought, oh, wow, that's really interesting. Let's keep moving. Went down to Mia. And, that's when we really started to dial in to the vein textures, to the mineralising style. And that's where we got our hit of 8 metres at nearly 8 grams gold and over 200 grams silver. So that was our classic 100 gram metre type hit. And that's when we knew, well, hang on, this system's quite special. We've done scout drilling at all prospects over 5 kilometres, and almost every single one of them has yielded a sort of 50 gram metre hit. So for us, our plan for the next 6 months is clear. We just need to do a lot more drilling. It's the sort of project now where the more you drill, the luckier you get. And we know that if we manage to find and define resources at 1 or 2 or 3 of these prospects, that we are going to be surprised on the upside, because there's a whole heap of cover out there that hasn't been explored under. And these systems, as Cerro Negro has shown, are really tip of the iceberg type systems. If you're finding really good gold poking out of the ground at surface, you can be guaranteed that it is just the tip of the iceberg. So look, we're really excited.
Well, and so you should be now, we are running out of time, so I want to ask you a couple more questions. The first one is, at the moment, it's very much an exploration story. You're quite close to the AngloGold Ashanti project. Do you think they're going to come sniffing around once you start to prove this thing up and show that it could potentially be another mine? Look, I know this is early days, I understand that, but there's a lot of mines in the area and they're big names. Is that ultimately what you think may happen to E2 Metals?
Yeah, look, so I guess our objective is to find world-class ore bodies and sell them at a premium. We believe we're in a province where you can do that. We believe that being 15 to 20 kilometres from AngloGold Ashanti's Cerro Vanguardia mine, which has a declining production profile and has very limited reserves, we believe that Conserrat is a very strategic asset. We know that we've got a lot of work to prove that. But I guess the upside is baked in the cake, if I can put it that way.
Yeah. And I guess, so that's what you're doing. You're going to go out, you're going to prove, and then you're going to, and that gives shareholder value ultimately, doesn't it? And that's what we're looking at.
Well, if you can just entertain me for a second, if you look at, say, Cerro Negro being an amazing opportunity, at E2's current market capitalisation, that would be a 200-fold return. If you look at Cerro Moro, 1 million ounces on our current market cap, that's a 20-fold return. And if you look at, let's call it COSE, which was 40,000 ounces, which was sold for $15 million. So on our current market cap, if that's all we do, you're losing 20 cents in the dollar. So it's an asymmetric risk story. The upside's baked in the cake. Based on the drilling we've done to date, you can assume the downside is limited. There's gold and silver there. We're just trying to work out how much.
Okay, so quick summation, Todd, if you could. Why should investors, I mean, we've actually covered it quite well, but just a summation why investors should look at E2 metals right now, number one. Number two, have you got enough cash in the bank and is the drilling starting, because where are we now, September? I guess this is the time that you can really up the drilling.
Yeah, that's right. So look, drilling has started. We've got one rig on site now drilling, and we'll have a second coming on site in a week's time. So we're really accelerating our drilling. We've got plenty of cash. We've just raised enough money so that we're fully funded for at least this season with over $5 million in the bank. And I guess why E2, why now? I guess really there's three thematics that are bubbling away. Firstly, you've got gold and silver itself. And essentially the start of what we see is a secular bull market in those two commodities. Then you've got increased participation in gold investment. I truly believe the world is under-invested in gold, and we're going to see a huge increase in participation and demand for not only physical gold, but gold and silver equities, and also gold and silver explorers. And then E2 itself, well, we are in a inflection point. We are at the fun part of the exploration curve. We're on the edge of a discovery, and we're going to know within the next 6 months where we sit with Conserrat. So that's really it.
That was a very good summation. You heard it here first on Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk to Todd again when he's got some more drill results coming through. But for now, Todd Williams, thanks so much for joining us on Small Caps today.
Great. Thanks, Kerry. It's been an absolute pleasure.